Star Wars The Clone Wars. Interesting 3D animated series produced by LucasFilm before it was absorbed by Disney. The series' purpose is to show us the events that transpire between Episode 2 and Episode 3 of the Star Wars franchise, and is a continuation of the events of the movie Star Wars The Clone Wars. The show tends to focus on multiple characters and is more of a story-run series than character-driven, though this changes on an episode-by-episode basis. I bet you're wondering who I am. I am DarkSideJedi, and I am here to review said series based on multiple factors. The plot of the episode, does it flow well? Are there any plot holes to like? The characters and the development, do the characters featured in the episode change or remain static, and is it for a reason? The tone, are there any major tonal shifts that make little sense? Animation quality, is the animation smooth and well done? And finally, the overall impact of the episode on the series as a whole. All of this will be tallied, and then the episode will be scored out of 10, where 10 means it is perfect in every way, and 1 meaning it was a waste of money to produce. Now, there are exceptions to this scoring system. If an episode is part of a story arc, then scoring will be delayed until the arc is complete. This does not include arcs that span over multiple seasons. With all the details out of the way, let us begin. Season 1, Episode 1 of Star Wars The Clone Wars is titled Ambush, and follows Yoda and a squad of clones as they try to make their way to meet up with Todarian leader King Katunko. In this episode, as the title suggests, this is not made easy as the group of Yoda and clones are ambushed by Confederate cruisers and forced to flee to the nearby moon's surface, where they are meant to meet the Todarians. This is all part of a plan that Count Dooku has implemented to convince the Todarians to join the Confederacy, also known as Separatists. In order to do so, learning that Yoda has survived, he has Asajj Ventress, his apprentice, make a wager with the King that if their forces are able to capture Yoda and his clones, then the Todarians should consider an alliance with the Confederates. I don't think he really means consider, I think he means you will join us. Yoda agrees to this wager and begins his trek to the meeting site. Throughout the journey, Yoda teaches the clone troopers, Lieutenant Thar, Jek, and Reese, sorry for butchering their names, that even though they are outnumbered, that because they are individuals and free-thinking, they will be able to outwit their foes. Eventually, the group is able to find their way to King Katunko and save his life as Ventress tries to assassinate him to prevent the Todarians from joining the Republic. How that is going to work, I have no idea. At the end of this episode, the Todarians join the Republic and allow them to build a base on Todaria so the Republic fleet can send supplies to the currently besieged Ryloth. The major characters throughout this episode are Yoda, the clone troopers, Asajj Ventress, Count Dooku, and of course King Katunko. Since this is the first episode, we don't see too much development for them, but it does allow us to establish who they are for later episodes. Yoda is shown as the wise leader of the Jedi Order and gets to show off just how strong he is in the Force. He does this by leading the clone troopers with a calm mind even in their dire situation, and at several points is capable of single-handedly destroying vast numbers of the droid armies. The clone troopers, Lieutenant Thar, Jek, and Reese are some of the few characters that actually develop in this episode. They go from doubting their capabilities and believing themselves to be expendable soldiers, being clones they are easy to replace in the grand scheme of things, to understanding that in Yoda's eyes and in their own, they are comrades and individuals, each with their own strengths and weaknesses that make them special and valuable, as well as irreplaceable. Using this knowledge, they are eventually able to save Yoda's life by thinking outside the box, what droids are never capable of. Now we reach the antagonists of this episode. I'll start with Ventress. In this episode, all we really learn about her is that she is ruthless, isn't afraid to cheat to get our way, and will obey her master no matter the cost. However, she is shown to be overconfident, and it takes Yoda easily defeating her without even lifting a blade to get her to understand she is outclassed and has to retreat. Overall, she's just shown as being evil, and that's all we really need to know at this point. Count Dooku is treated in a slightly more honorable way, shown as a powerful and feared leader of the Confederates with a commanding presence in the few scenes he is present. This is being used to establish just who all the Jedi and their clones are facing, for any new fans of the Star Wars universe. It also is supposed to establish that he is the main antagonist of the series as a whole. King Katunko, for what we see in this episode, is a wise and noble king who respects honor above all else, and when he discovers Ventress's treachery, refuses to join the Confederacy. Even when he is threatened with death, he calmly accepts it, up to the point where even when his guards are easily dispatched, he waits the inevitable, willing to die than compromise his morals. And I also love the fact how calmly he responds to Yoda's presence when he saves his life. It's like, oh, thanks, Yoda. Bye, Ventress. The tone of this episode is odd, however. There are several moments where Yoda and his clones are in danger of dying, but then in the same scene, the enemies they are facing are shown to be incompetent, detracting a lot from the dire nature of their situation. This bothers me because while I understand the show is meant for a younger audience, it is also capable of showing very mature themes, such as with the clones discovering their individuality. It is just a strange tonal shift to have and makes it hard to take the threat seriously throughout the episode. Even makes me question the legitimacy of the threat Republic is facing in the grand scheme of things. In terms of animation, it is gorgeous in terms of its fluidity, and the fight scenes are very well choreographed, both in their brief space battle near the beginning and the multiple land battles throughout the episode. However, I have to point out that the character designs do look a little wooden and not as flesh-like as I would personally like. However, it is a constant throughout the episode and the series, so I can see it as an aesthetic of the series as a whole, and therefore it doesn't bother me as much. This episode, being the first, is quite important to establishing the universe of the Clone Wars, and I feel that it does a pretty good job of letting at least me know what I'm in for, and wanting more as I wish to see other aspects of this conflict in question. Overall, I give this episode a 7 out of 10. While not an extremely well done episode, it does its job well enough, and I was entertained throughout. It was, once again, it's the first, and therefore it did its job in establishing what we are to expect throughout this whole series, as well as some of the major characters we'll be seeing. Well, that is all I have to say for this episode, so until the next review, farewell, and may the Force be with you.